Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about our topic, which is individual self versus social identity online on the digital self in understanding the self. And we are the group for who tackle about this topic. And now, allow me to introduce to you our group member, Aldaya Stephen, RVO Charles Gius, Bonachita Ravin Joyd, Kabahog Claude Simon, Kubangbang Idmar, yours truly Dizon Din Lloyd, and lastly, Lindio G. Mivel. Objectives. At the end of this topic, a student will be able to define what is digital self, to determine what is individual versus social identity online, to differentiate the two identities, to know the importance of online identity. And first, let's talk about the digital self before we proceed to tackle our main topic, which is individual versus social identity online. The digital self. Digital self is a persona you use when you're online. Some people maintain one or more online identifies that are distinct from their real-world selves. Others have a single online self that more or less the same as the one they inhabit in the real world. A speak of the self that is expressed or shared with others through online interactions on the internet, especially in this time of pandemic, which is individual self versus social identity online. Individual or personal identity. Individual self consists of cognition regarding one personal traits, states, or behaviors, and contains those aspects of the self-concept that differentiate the person from other persons. An individual is that which exists and distinct entity. Individually is that state or quality of being an individual. Social identity online. Your online identity is not the same as your real-world identity because the characteristic you represent online differ from characteristic you represent in the physical world. Neither one has your full identity if they were to put together your partial identities. Some people maintain one or more online identities that are distinct from their real-world self. Others have a single online self that more or less the same as the one that they inhabit in the real world.
Good day everyone, this is Cadet Claude Simon Kabahog from Vicente 1. So today I will tackle the individual or personal identity. So personal identity can simply be defined as individual sense of self as he grows older. This is not something that is static or changeless, but rather one that develops as the individual experience new dimension or chapter in life. When it comes to basic personal identity creation, the individual tries to understand who he is, where he belongs, what is important to him, and etc. Personal has a version of his or her own identity. Based on this, he has a way of saying himself. Some may see them as achievers, while others may see them as failures. The experiences, context, and the people with whom we connect all play a big role in formation of our personal identity. However, it is vital to emphasize that our conception of identity may differ from the social conception of self. For example, we may believe that we are kind and helpful to others, but social perception, other individuals might see us as rude and impolite person. Personal identity is involved with who we are as individuals and what differentiate us from others in society. So that's all. Thank you.
Hey everyone, my name is Cadet Bonachita. and today I'm gonna tackle about the online social identity. So, online social identity is a social identity that an internet user establishes in online communities and websites. It involves the use of internet usage or social media platforms such as Facebook, Messenger, and Tumblr in order for him or her to socialize online. So that's an example of social media platforms to socialize online. And we can also define our identity explicitly by creating user profiles in social networking services. The social web, the usage of the web to support the social process, represents a space in which people have the possibility to express and expose their identity in a social context. The disclosure of a person's identity may present certain issues related to privacy. Many people adopt strategies that help them control the disclosure of their personal information online. Some strategies require users to invest considerable effort. The emergence of the concept of online identity has raised many questions among academics. Social networking services and online avatars have complicated the concept of identity. Academia has responded to those emerging trends by establishing domains like concept studies, which focuses on all aspects of human identity in technological societies. Online activities may affect our offline personal identity as well. So that's the online social identity. And for the online identity, also known as internet persona, is a social identity that an internet user establishes in online communities and websites. It can also be considered as actively constructed presentation of oneself, although some people choose to use their real names online. Some internet users prefer to be anonymous, identifying themselves by means of pseudonyms, which reveal varying amounts of personally identifiable information. So when we say personally identifiable information is any information related to a identifiable person. It is our personal data, just like that. An online identity may even be determined by a user's relationship to a certain social group they are a part of online. Some can even be deceptive about their identity. In some online contexts, including internet forums, online chats, and massively multiplayer online role-playing games, users can represent themselves visually by choosing an avatar, an icon-sized graphic image. Avatars are one way users express their online identity. Through interaction with other users, an established online identity acquires a reputation which enables other users to decide whether the identity is worthy of trust. Online identities are associated with users through authentication, which typically requires registration and logging in. Some websites also use the user's IP address or tracking cookies to identify users. So that's the online identity.
Importance of online identity. The development of internet communication and social media has expanded through the traditional notion of identity. Now people have online identities in addition to their real-life identities. It can be hard to manage the relationship between online and real life identities because materials that are posted online may exist forever. They can shape people's interpretation.
The difference between your online person and your real self. Your online identity is not the same as your real world identity because the characteristics you represent online differ from the characteristics you represent in the physical world. Neither one has your identity, even if they were to put together your partial identities.
Virtual identity is the manifestation of oneself in digital world of e-commerce, email, social networking, and virtual worlds. Identity in our digital age is no longer tied to static physical anchors such as one's reputation in a village. So virtual identity in online virtual communities such as online chat rooms and online games. A virtual identity is one created by human user that acts as an interface between physical person and virtual person other users see on their computer screen. So while traditional online proofing help most users to access secure service online. So some populations struggle with the online process. Virtual and person proofing allows these individuals to complete identity proofing with a trained trusted refer via a simple video conference session. So for example, many virtual identities in other spaces that are less creatively oriented will more or less represent the actual physical identity of the user. For instance, in a collaborative platform such as a Basecamp, where someone may use their own name or image for an avatar. So that's all.
So here's my report about social identity theory. An individual's social identity indicates who they are in terms of the groups in which they belong. Social identity groups are usually defined by some physical, social, and mental characteristics of individuals. Social identity theory was developed to explain how individuals create and define their place in society. According to the theory, there are three psychological processes are central in that regard. The social categorization, social comparison, and the last is social identification. So first is the social categorization. So social categorization refers to the classification of other individuals into particular group memberships based on characteristics deemed meaningful by society. Example of social categories include age group, sex, and race. Social categorization based on age can lead to stereotypical and evaluative biases. So, social categorization is a large part of social identity theory, which emerged during the 1970s as a way of explaining group behaviors based on how the group perceives itself in relation to those who are outside of the group. So the second one is the social comparison. Social comparison process involves people coming to know themselves by evaluating their own attitudes, abilities, and traits in comparison with others. In most cases, we try to compare ourselves to those in our peer group or with whom we are similar. There are two major parts or types of social comparison. the upward comparison and the downward comparison. So the upward comparison, when people compare themselves to people who are better than they are, and the downward comparison, when people compare themselves to those who are less proficient than they are. Both upward and downward comparisons have strengths and weaknesses. So the last one is social identity. Social identity or social identification denotes individuals' psychological bond with their group, or it is an indispensable construct in research on intragroup and intergroup dynamics. Today's understanding of social identification is firmly grounded in self-stereotyping principles. And examples of social identification is a race, like, and ethnicity or gender, social class or social economic status, sexual orientation or disabilities or abilities, and religion or religious beliefs. And that's all.